Welcome, everyone, to the Soul Tribe podcast. I'm Aunty Charmaine, where we value community, connection, devotion, herbalism, and all the other amazing things that brought our grandmothers together. We're keeping the traditions, and we are so excited to have you here with us. Hey, Soul Tribe. It's Aunty Charmaine here. So I am sitting in a different environment, and I am recording this podcast because I realized it was very important at this time to acknowledge our victories. And so the title for this Soul Tribe podcast episode is You've Been Through the Storm. What did you learn? So we have been turned upside down and downside up, and we are connecting to parts of ourselves that we had no clue existed. It's something about having life turn upside down, whether it is losing a job, having to relocate, changing of career paths, changing of relationships. Everything in your life that gave stability had to change because you outgrew it. So some of the things that I'm experiencing right now, I'm experiencing how to do a hell of a lot more with a hell of a lot less. Some of the lessons that I had to learn was, is this really a need? Do you really need this to be happy? And it was the changes in the way that I had to show up in the world and show up for myself. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about some of the storm because we can't apply what we've learned until we acknowledge what it was that we had to go through. So some of the things that I endured and experienced, let's say over the last few years, was change in my career path. So I thought my career was going to be okay, great. I got my little metaphysical store. I'm changing life for people. I'm showing up and I'm being excited about showing up and being of service. And then all of the weight of that responsibility came. And I realized that one of the things that hardship brought me and brought to my consciousness was that I'm much stronger than I realized. See, I thought that this was going to be a cakewalk, and maybe that's what I needed in order to actually make it come to pass. Maybe I needed to be naive. Maybe I needed to have a sense of childlike wonder to even do it at all. I remember I used to beat myself up because I used to say, well, if I had only knew what I know now. Well, no, you had to go through, Charmaine, what you went through. And it brought you to where you are. So letting go of the way I thought my life was supposed to be was another challenge that I had. You know, I am a very controlling natured person, and in my Aquarian rebellious nature, I don't like being bossed around, and for damn sure don't like being told what to do. However, there was something about taking the thoughts from what people thought and bringing them into a place where I no longer cared about what people thought. I was seeking the help. And I did. I sought help from outside of myself, and some of that help was what I needed at the time. But I learned more to trust in that still and precious voice that laid within me. I thought I needed this expert and that expert in order for my business to gain the notoriety, gain the validation. But then I realized something, that if Prime Creator is creator over all things and all things has its essence, then I too has its essence. And I had to trust that everything I knew to do and could do and was capable of, I was able to use those talents and gifts. So trusting in myself was also a challenge that I had. Another challenge that came up for me, and maybe even for you, was outgrowing certain relationships. I always envisioned myself being a person that was more positive natured, more caring, even gentle. Sometimes I can be very, very detached, but it's not a coping mechanism. It's more of a processing, experiencing, filtering, and figuring it out kind of thing. And I realized that even if that is the way I live and experience life, that too was one of the tools that I could use if I had just saw life from a different perspective. The challenge of my ego, that was incredible. I hadn't realized how much other people's opinion had sunk into my psyche to the point where I wouldn't make moves at all because I was afraid of other people's opinions. And somewhere along the line, I was stripped from one way that I had seen myself because I wanted the accolades, wanted the resources, wanted the attention, and then that stripped you. And so you're not succeeding like you thought you should and like you thought you could. And of course, that triggers your ego. And so one of the things that I realized was how I lived for the praise, and I should not have lived my life like that. When you build your foundation on other people's opinions, and then there is no opinion to validate what it is that you really want to do with your life, there's something about sitting firm in yourself. So those are some of the challenges that I had to go through with. And these challenges did not just simply affect my business. It affected my businesses. It affected my relationships. It affected my resources. It affected every part of me. And I realized that in there, I had experienced 2 years of what we all have experienced in this spiritual business called the dark night of the soul, where you experience one challenge after the other, and you're being bombarded with one spiritual wave after another, and you literally feel as though you cannot catch your breath. And you're figuring out, like you're going over all of your steps, and you're like, what the hell did I do to validate this experience? But all you had to do was show up with a purpose that you were not living, have a dream that's embedded in your soul that you're not taking seriously, taking bits and pieces of that vision and then trying to turn it into something else instead of waiting for divine instruction, intervention, and guidance. And so I literally was pouring from an empty cup, not realizing that my cup had to be full. Another challenge I had to learn. Isn't it funny how we learn these lessons, and we have to learn these lessons in order to get better, to be better, to live better? And yet, it's the very thing we avoid. So, everything I experienced, all of these challenges, the culmination of it all brought me to a place that left me very humbled and feeling extraordinarily raw and vulnerable. And it brought me to literally baseline in my soul, baseline in my thoughts, where I had to unlearn everything. Everything I ever thought about myself, everything I thought I knew, everything I thought I could rely on, and people I thought I could rely on. I literally have been like a serpent to some degree, just shedding my skin, shedding every part of me that did not serve me for my highest good. And it's so funny because That was one of the challenges. I think the ultimate challenge I struggled with and have finally made peace with, and that is, do not hold on to things or people who do not belong. I understand you love people and you love certain things, but do not hold on to what you have outgrown, because you will literally be weighted down with the very thing that you are clawing at. So, there were people in my life that I literally had to look at them, make my feelings known, and walk away. People have been in my life my entire life. There were times when I had to part ways with immature ways that I had been for so long and didn't even realize I had created this entire persona around a brokenhearted child who became a brokenhearted woman who didn't cope well with change because life had been so challenging. And so she learned to build these walls that are so thick that emotions couldn't go out or come in. And it could only go out to people she trusted, and people who she trusted sometimes didn't necessarily deserve her trust. And so I encourage you all, let go of things and people with more grace and ease than I did. It serves you to be a much better and lighter person. So, what was some of the things that I've learned? Some of the epic things that I've learned. Number one, from the challenge of letting go of things and people, I never realized how heavy energetically people can be. So I just kind of thought, oh, I just love them. And maybe if I can just love them through all of their agony, love them through all of their pain, I realized, hold up, I am literally super heavy and none of these problems are mine. I'm not even experiencing any of it. And I'm fighting and clawing my way to some kind of happy thoughts, happy life, positivity, energetically sound and balanced, and they're comfortable in their agony. And one day I had to clip a wing with someone that I love, several people that I love. And I felt so much lighter. I thought I would be rolling over, crying. And some of that did happen now. Some of that did happen because these are people that you love. But after a few days, it was just more like, okay, you start to think about them less and less until not at all. And then the things that I once loved and no longer had the appetite for. Now, sweetheart, listen, Aunty Charmaine loved a little gossip TV. Gossip TV, that was my thing. That was my vibration. But now I'm watching it, and these people are my age, in or older, and I'm looking and I'm like, yo, we grandmothers out here. What that's kind of weird. Strange. Now, I'm not a grandmother quite yet, but still, for sure, an auntie. I'm in my 40s. So that being said, I realized that I had outgrown the immaturity that I once was addicted to. So I literally stopped watching TV. My television does not come on unless it is a subscription to something that I enjoy that's pouring back into my cup. So literally, one of the things that I have come accustomed to doing is protecting my cup, which is my peace, my inner peace. So some of the things that I've done, I've learned to let go more gracefully. Some of the things that I have done to institute the positivity that I desire, I'm very selective about the company I keep. If I'm finding that the company that I'm keeping is constantly gossiping or constantly negative and there's nothing joyful in your life at all, you got breath in the body, there's food on the table, clothes on your back, may not be a Louis bag, but it's okay. Thank goodness for the bag you have. If you can't even be glad about that, your days in my life is numbered. So being very wise in how I spend my energetic currency. Okay. Another thing that I learned was you can love people, but don't carry them. A good acquaintance of mine that I once knew from afar and hoped to know as a friend is Molly McCord. And one day we were just talking before an interview, and she said to me, Charmaine, you can care, but don't carry. That was something that was ingrained in my soul because it was something that was something she could have never known, but I had always had a horrible habit of overgiving, oversharing, overcompensating, overdoing. Because I love a person so much, I need you to feel that essence. I realized that my Scorpio stellium is something that brings a great deal of passion, but I've also learned give it to those who've earned it. Don't just give it to a person just because you love them. Give it to them because they've earned it. Because that which is earned is appreciated. And that is really all I've ever wanted, was to be appreciated. So now I'm in a position where I love and treat myself the way I want to be treated, which also happens to bring me to another wonderful lesson that I've learned, was to do unto myself as I want to be done to others. Meaning, we always think about that golden rule as to do unto others as you want to be done to yourself. But really, it should be I am doing to myself how I want others to treat me. Meaning, everything starts with you. Everything starts with me. Everything starts with you. And knowing how you want to be treated and being that to you first lays the foundation for everything else to fall properly in line. And so now I am good to myself. The way I used to show up for others, I mean, baby, 110 toes down. You hear me? I'm that auntie. You understand? Ain't nobody gonna hurt my babies. You hear? I'm like that for Charmaine now. So once upon a time, I would stay up all night and I would braid my son's hair. Now I stay up all night and I give love and time and attention and affection to my family, but I make sure I pour into Charmaine. So her spiritual baths are done with gladness, and I will give myself a wonderful facial. And I make it a point to love myself in a way where it's fair and reasonable. So I don't shortchange myself. I make sure to pour into me. Another thing that I have found, that I have learned, is that when you see flaws in people, really recognize that, accept it. It's so important to truly see yourself as you are, the things you admire and love about yourself, and the things that you know you need to change and improve on. Understanding that nothing is perfect, it gives the weight of perfection off of your shoulders, and it just allowed me to be. So I stopped living from a place of looking for recognition and not giving a damn more often than not. I realized to value and trust my inner voice and not betray that voice simply because someone else says something. When I know something is right, I stand on what's right, 100 toes down, period. And that level of confidence has brought me into places where I have been able to really bring sustenance to my life and all of those who I've been able to help. So really ask yourself at this time, what was some of the challenges that I experienced over the last 11 months? What were some of the choices within those 11 months that led me to a lesson that I willfully accepted, and then that led me to my blessing? I realized that we get so hung up on the accolades, the good parts of life, but we don't realize that it's a lot of the challenges, the squares in our birth chart that actually bring out our character. It brings out the strength that is dormant. It brings out the goodness that lies within. And every time we fight that goodness, we fight the development of it. Every time we argue when we know we shouldn't, every time we make excuses for poor behavior, we realize that the value that we gain from all of this traction comes from the lessons and the challenges that we've overcome. So I'm asking you, Soul Tribe, at this time, what was some of the things that you've learned? What was some of the hard choices that led to the greatest version of yourself? And now that you have created your morning ritual and created your ways of grounding yourself and have learned the importance of having healthy boundaries, all are laurels to lessons learned. Now, what do we do with these lessons? I think this is the part of life that we are all at now because the outer world is changing at rapid speed. Right now, these words are piercing your soul because it's real. None of this is generated AI, nothing. Everything is me. This is me talking. And this is you feeling, and this is you experiencing. So the question is, how do you apply all of the lessons that you've learned to the challenges that may come up? How do you lead by example? How do you not allow any of these changes and challenges that will come up? How do you overcome them with grace and ease? One of the things that I will tell you is definitely stop and breathe. Oh my goodness, stopping and breathing is so cleansing. It just oxidizes the body and it just puts you in a state of mind where you can easily go to a calm, more balanced and relaxed state. What's some of the ways that you do that? This is going to be amazing, guys, because when we actually ask ourselves the real questions that lead to real answers, that lead to real transformation, we're unstoppable. I hope this has filled your cups, guys. Listen, I'm going to always be here for you, and you are here for me. And I'm looking forward to the next Soul Tribe podcast. Peace and love, y'all.
I'm Aunty Charmaine, and I am a constant reminder to our tribe to connect mind, body, and soul as we talk everything spirituality, everything herbalism, and all amazing things in between. I am the auntie of the community. Peace and love, y'all.
This is Soul Tribe Media, where your spiritual journey comes alive. A media movement rooted in empowerment, enlightenment, and elevation. Join me for a day in the life with Auntie as I bring you along on these sacred journeys and gaining everyday wisdom. Read our latest publication at OK Universe I Hear You as we keep it real, tell the truth, and go through our healing with real talk. Listen in on the latest Soul Tribe podcast episode as we give voice to spiritual growth and divine timing. Read the latest publication of BNP Chronicles as we talk all things astrology, numerology, holistic wellness, and mindful practices. Come and sit with us as we have Sunday morning messages with Auntie, as we talk enlightenment, one auntie to one niece or nephew. Join us for our TikTok live show with me, Aunty Charmaine, as we build that sacred community in motion, one amazing conversation at a time. Let me explain something to you, sweetheart. You have entered an amazing space that is going to keep you full and get you the enlightenment that you're seeking. Welcome to Soul Tribe Media.